We're going to take a look at Apple here on the weekly chart, but first we need to recap what happened today. We ended the day basically flat. We were down 39 cents from yesterday's trading session. And if you're looking at the quotes just for what it's worth, you think, oh, it's a pretty boring day, nothing happened in here. But really, you had a decent pop in here and some pullbacks and another pop and some more pullbacks. And finally, you got that drawdown by the end of the day. So really, you were kind of up about $1.50 or dollar and some change in here from your open. But then obviously we pulled it back, and then gave it all up as we were working our way into close there. So that's how we ended flat. So where does that kind of put us here overall on the weekly chart, trading at 213.76? Well, we do have earnings coming up next week. So we kind of have to keep that in mind as we're looking at this overall chart, this overall structure in here, because you can see we've been respecting this lower trend line here. And this overall wedge is just being completed nicely in here for us. We're getting to the apex in here of this overall triangle, but I don't think it's going to take us another 2 or 3 weeks in here to kind of breach out of this apex either way, right? Because we do have an earnings catalyst coming up next week. So July 31st after market, Apple is going to report earnings. So perhaps that could give us a pop in here either way. So what is the expected move that everybody's pricing in by next week? Well, it's right around a $9 expected move is what traders are pricing in. So that is going to be your August 1st expiration cycle. That's going to contain your earnings report in there. So really that puts a lot of I guess, levels here on the table for us. So resistance wise, we're going to be looking at the 215.81s. You can kind of expand that about 19, 20 cents to about the 216. So really, I'll give you about a 20-cent channel in there for resistance. So the 215.81s to right around that 216 level. Anything above that, you're looking right around the 223s, and you go all the way up to the 225 to the 226s. That is going to be your big resistance up in here. Now, support wise, you do have a little bit of a help here with this lower trend line and giving us some grace, right? So it's really 209.96, but we're going to expand that out just a little bit, 209 to about 210. So you got about $1 wide in here. Support here for this lower trend line that will expand it out to. And then you go right around the 207s. And then below that, the 197.06 is what everybody is looking at down here for support. But really, you do have a psych level in here that could be a little bit of footing in here, but really the 197 is going to be that major player as far as a support if we breach out pretty harshly in here of this lower trend line. Now, as far as our RSI and volumes are concerned, basically everything's been the same in here, right? So we have been grinding up higher ever since that mid-June, right? So here's where we get that other touch point for that lower trend line. We're just grinding higher. And the RSI is just slowly going up very slightly, right? So this is on the weekly chart. So I get it's a bigger time frame. You have to keep that in consideration as well. But we're at 51 right now compared to 42. So it's not really getting a big push in here like you would think, especially when you had this low to high in here, about a $15 week just 4 weeks ago. So you kind of have to keep all of this in mind. That's why we're trying to paint this narrative of what could happen in here. But really the volume in here, basically the same, RSI, basically the same. Basically what you have is just the earnings report coming up that could push this thing either way. So like I said, $9 expected move by next week. If you go all the way out to your August monthlies, right around a $12 expected move. But really, you have some decent IV in here just this week because your IV ranks at 22. So you have a $2 expected move just priced in by tomorrow's expiration. So we'll see what kind of move we get in here tomorrow. I mean, that's basically the same move that we had in here today. You wouldn't say it by looking at the quotes, right? You think, oh, it's flat. We ended the day 39 cents down. But really, you did have that nice big $1.50 pop in here overall that we did run away, and then we just kind of expanded away and then kind of contracted right back down and ending flat. So decent IV all around in here, especially for next week because that contains your earnings cycle. But we'll see what kind of levels we're going to be looking at in here as we start working our way closer to that earnings cycle. But again, we're kind of at the apex of this overall structure. 215, that's going to be the level we're going to, or 215.81 to the 216s, and then above that 223, and then support wise 210, 209, and the 207s. That's what we're going to be watching overall for Apple. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you are interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.